Okay, we're going to do a PerfPro Studio workout using the Vo2 Master and rollers, and we're going to do some 3-minute intervals that start in tempo, move up the threshold, and then finish at Vo2 max. So we're going to look at the physiological response to the physical inputs and demands. All the data is going to be trapped, and I'll share the screen. I'll share the file with you after we're done. We're going to start by calibrating the Vo2 Master. We wait for the blue light. We look to see that it's turned on. We pull my glasses off and start breathing.
Okay, I am superimposing my narration on top of my video to highlight just a few things that are important. If you look at the PerfPro Studio dial, you can see that right front and center is the second-to-second wattage output. But if we look to the upper right-hand corner, you've got an SMO2 value of 50%. Now, I use saturated muscle oxygen in conjunction with Vo2 because I like to see if the legs are recovering with oxygenation, and also I like to see if the lungs are recovering with oxygenation. The Vo2 values are on the bottom row in the lower left-hand corner, and then the third icon, the third block from the left. So you can see it's reading 29, 29.3, 29.9, 29 points give or take right there. And then if we go over to the right hand side, you can see that it's reading 15.4. Now it's coming up, there's a 16.1 and 28, 15.7. Now what I was doing for the lower FeO2 values was I was practicing sort of a breath play COPD maneuver where I practice either pursing my lips and creating back pressure against the diaphragm to load the lungs with a little bit more CO2, or I was doing the same thing with the roof of my mouth and my tongue to try and just to create some more back pressure. I think it works. It lowers the heart rate. You can see my heart rate is down in the 129 range, and it did artificially raise my Vo2 the Vo2 Master on the lower left-hand corner, but I'm not overly worried about it. It is something that I'm going to practice, and I'm going to try to make it as common as possible in my own training over the course of the winter. And I do have a Spyro Tiger that I'll be using off and on for a few minutes at a time to sort of practice the diaphragm muscles. There's more modern products like than the Spyro Tiger available right now. Okay, this is my last warm-up interval, so let's take a look at it. You can see that I'm warming up in the 350 range. My SMO2 immediately begins to drop. It's at 28%, 25%. My Vo2 max is at 44, 45. It's going up to 46. SMO2 continues to drop. You can see that I'm almost anaerobic. Vo2 is at 47, 48. I'm going to back it off, but there's always the delayed penalty. There's the 49. SMO2 is down to 14%. SMO2 is already recovering. Vo2 is at 49.6, 49.5, 49.2. And I've got a very brief period of time before I get ready for my intervals. So the trick now is to get the SMO2 to get as high as possible in the 90 seconds that we have left. And I'm also going to try to get the Vo2 to come back down. Now you can see that FeO2, which is the expired oxygen, is in the 16.2% range and slowly going up. And that is part of that COPD maneuver to try and utilize as much of the O2 as possible and to try to expel as much of the CO2 as possible. So here we are, we're 1 minute out. SMO2 is creeping up back above 50%. VO2 max is dropping, and my power is nice and steady in the 150 to 160 range. You'll see a little bit of herky-jerky, and that is my one-legged power meter. It's not my favorite, but it is it has been consistent, and honestly, it was pretty cheap in the big scheme of things. The price of these things has come down so much over the past couple of years that it's kind of fun to be able to put a power meter on just about every bike. So here we are. This is the beginning of interval 1. We're 20 seconds out. FeO2 is still below 17%. SMO2 is plateaued. VO2 is in the mid-30s. And with 10 seconds left, we're going to spend 1 minute at tempo intensity, which is below what I'm going to call 265 to 280. So watch the power in the green dashboard. It's a little hot right now. I'm going to back it off. There we are. We're in the 250s, 240s. Right there. Now watch the VO2 in the lower left-hand corner. 34.2, 34.6, 35.9. Steady as she goes. It's not increasing too quickly. Nice and steady. There's a 37. There's a 38, so there we go. Now it's starting with 40 seconds into the interval. It's starting to kick up. 39.4, 40.x, 41. There it is. Okay, so now I'm going to go above threshold, which is going to be above 260. I'm going to ride it at about 300-ish. So let's just take a look. There's my 320, 338, 355, 300. Good. So there we are. SMO2 is down at the 20% range, so it's starting to deplete, and VO2 is in the 47. FeO2 is still in the mid to low 16s. My VO2 is now at 48, 49, 50, so I'm creeping up. Remember, my VO2 max is 68, as recorded a few days back. SMO2 is now down to 14%, so I'm running out of options here. VO2 is now 54. It's creeping. It's creeping. VO2 is now 55. It's creeping. 56 with 10 seconds to go before I go into MAP or VO2 max intensity. 56, 56, 57. Here we are. So now I'm going to go into the 350 to 400 range. There we are. Get that power up. There we are. You can see I'm getting a little bit off balance here. 60 on the VO2. SMO2 is down to 12%. FeO2 is going up. It's at 17.1%. There's a 61.9. 62 on the VO2 max. 390, 420. 62 with 25 seconds to go. SMO2 is steady at 11%. VO2 max is at 62.7, 62.8, 63. It's cooking. 64. So I'm right in there. I'm right at VO2 max. 65.9, 65.9, 64, 5, 4, 3. I'm at 64. I'm at 64. I'm at 64. And I am recovering. All right, now let's watch that SMO2 go back up. 14%, 15%, 17%, 19%. So the legs are getting reoxygenated, and VO2 is still in the 50s. Look at that. 56, 56, 55. So you do get a metabolic benefit if these intervals are part of your goal. There's a 53. I'm finally coming down. SMO2 is at 59%. The legs are reoxygenating, 63%. Heart rate is at 162. VO2 is starting to decline, 48, 47. There's my SMO2 at almost max active saturation, 74%, 75%. VO2 is down to 44, 43, 42. SMO2 is at 77%. It's a bit of a plateau. There's 78. VO2 is down to 38. Heart rate is down to 148. I'm back in the aerobic zone. There's my 36 on VO2. There's a 35 on VO2. Heart rate is down to 144, 143. And bingo. All right, so the legs, the SMO2 is now plateaued. VO2 is continuing to decline and help me recover. And now I think what I would argue is I should probably be pursing my lips and trying to load the lungs a little bit more to get some more oxygen saturation and purge the CO2.
Wow, that was a really fun workout. These were 3-minute intervals, and I broke them up into 1-minute segments where the first segment was at tempo, the second segment was right at or just above threshold, and the final segment I was pushing it into VO2 max MAP territory. What's exciting is that the VO2 tracked it pretty much spot on. We'll dig into it a little bit later, but I did 2.5 of these intervals. It was not part of my training plan, but I'm so excited about being able to trap this data that I recorded everything. So what this accomplished was, if we're using the Xert metrics, I was able to ride tempo and my VO2 was in the 40s and low 50s. I was able to ride threshold and my VO2 crept into the mid to high 50s. As soon as I got into those 1-minute intervals, my VO2 rolled into the 60s, and I believe I maxed out at a 65 over the course of two of the 2.5 intervals that I tried. Well, that tracks pretty accurately. And so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do some 30-30s, not today, but probably next week, and see if I can get myself back into that VO2 max territory without necessarily getting a fitness breakthrough on the Xert model. I will do that in January, but I'm not going to do it right now. I ended the ride with about 20 Xert XSS points, riding it between 150 and 170, and I practiced my COPD maneuvers where I pursed my lips or I put pressure on the lungs through my tongue being placed on the roof of my mouth. That lowered the FeO2 into the 15s and low 16s. Now it did artificially raise my VO2 max, but what it shows is that there are different metrics you can pay attention to at different points in time. And I'm just really, really excited about this. I honestly can't wait to try it outdoors, but I'm going to wait for things to warm up in the spring, and I will have a Bluetooth operated power meter at that time, and I will trap that data mountain biking and also road cycling. Anyway, that's about it. My name is Richard Wharton, and my company is onlinebikecoach.com. I was a Kickstarter investor in the Vo2 Master, and I'm finally getting to use it to my own effect, and I'm going to track that progress as we go. But I'm still really happy with a 65 on 3-minute intervals. It's just great to see a 50-year-old blowing these kinds of numbers, and I can't wait to share it with other people in the Washoe Valley and around the country and around the world. Thanks for watching. Have a great ride.